This is CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Find out more and open an account online at telhio.org. Now here's your host, Bob McElligott.
Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. The Blue Jackets tonight are in Toronto, where they're going to face the Maple Leafs for the second time this year. Of course, the Maple Leafs beat the Blue Jackets on opening night at Nationwide Arena, so the Blue Jackets will try to even the season series here this evening. The Blue Jackets are coming off back-to-back games that resulted in overtime losses. Both times the score was 3-2. They lost in Chicago to the Blackhawks, and then on Saturday fell to the New York Islanders at Nationwide Arena by that same score. In both of those games, the case was the Blue Jackets just not getting enough goals, just not capitalizing on enough chances. They had the opportunity to score more than 2 goals during regulation, and they weren't able to do it. So tonight, hopefully the Blue Jackets can, well, here's what hopefully they can do. Hopefully they can play that team defense that really limits the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have more of a high-powered offense than both the Blackhawks and the Islanders. Hopefully the Blue Jackets' team defense is better now than it was on opening night, and hopefully they can cash in on their chances. That has been the theme so far this year for the Blue Jackets, and as I get to your questions, you will ask about it because it has been a theme to this point. That is what they have to do. They've got to finish. They are getting to the net. They are creating opportunities, but those opportunities are not resulting in goals. So we'll talk about all of that coming up here in just a moment when I get to your questions. But first, I want to tell you about Telhio Credit Union and the fine people that bring you this show. You know, at Telhio Credit Union, they have so many things for you. They have personal things for you. They have business things for you. Whether you're a business owner or you just want to have a checking account, savings account for yourself, they can help you out either way. But let me talk about business today because there might come a time when you need extra funds for a major business purchase. So there are some different options that they have at Telhio Credit Union, like commercial and business real estate loans, or a small business association loan, or a business line of credit, or a business credit card. Those are all options for you if you happen to own a business and you need some cash flow, influx of cash, whatever it is. So find out more just by going online to telhio.org. You'll be able to find all of that information. You'll be able to find all the information about Telhio Credit Union. And if there's something that you need and you don't find it or you have a question about something, all you have to do is click on the live chat option and somebody will talk to you just like that. The other thing you can do is stop by any local office of Telhio Credit Union. Telhio Credit Union is open to everyone in central and southwestern Ohio. They are federally insured by NCUA. All right, let's get to your questions for today and start with Jason Messick, who has the first one. And Jason referring to Saturday's game against the New York Islanders, where he says, obviously 80 shot attempts is a good thing. Do you think we are missing someone like a Hornquist who consistently stands in front of the net? I feel like we should be getting more greasy ones off the rebound. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you always want somebody to be standing in front of the net and always looking for rebounds, all of that stuff. But I don't know that there have been that many rebounds that have resulted in second and third chances. I think the other goalies have done a good job in that department. I think they've done a really good job in that department, and that's something the Blue Jackets haven't been able to create. But you may have a point. Maybe when those opportunities occur, there's not somebody close enough to the net. Yeah, I don't know. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but I think when you are trying to score, Jason, to be honest with you, and you're struggling in scoring is what I want to say, maybe somebody hanging out there net front a little bit more might be an idea. So maybe we'll watch and see if that's one of the adjustments that are made with the Blue Jackets here, maybe even tonight. That would be a good idea against the Toronto Maple Leafs because you have to take advantage of every opportunity that is given to you. Logan Bergeron says, should the Blue Jackets look into a good, cost-controlled veteran goal scorer? It worked with Thomas Vanek when he sparked Jenner and Wenberg on the line. It doesn't need to be a big name, just someone who knows where that knows where to be. Someone knows where to be and who can put the puck in the net. So again, you're already sensing this theme, right? The frustration with the Blue Jackets not being able to put the puck in the net. And as far as looking for somebody, well, sure. if you can find somebody. Now, we're only in the first 8 games of the season here, so I don't think you're going to find a team that's willing to give up a forward right now, not one that's on their roster, because everybody is in it, and that's the problem early in the year, right? Everybody is in it. Nobody is out of the playoffs, anything like that. Now, you could get one if you were to get together with a team that needs defense, and you have a lot of defense, and if they have a forward that you might be able to pry away for one of your defensemen, now that's a totally different story. But the answer to your question early is, if you could find somebody that's cost effective to put the puck in the net, yes, because nobody here is consistently putting the puck in the back of the net right now. Garrett Steffen has a question, and Garrett says, where do players stay when they get called up from Cleveland? Do the Blue Jackets have some apartments, or do they stay in a hotel? They stay in a hotel, Garrett, I think. And I say I think because that used to be standard operating procedure, that you would get called up, you stay in a hotel until such time when you got sent back down, or they decided you were going to stay and they told you to go ahead and get your own place. Now, that could have changed a little bit because of corporate housing, because there are so many units in the Arena District area where I don't know right now if they have a corporate housing situation where you just rent a place and then, have a 3-bedroom place, and if you happen to call up a couple of guys at a time, you can put them in there at the same time. I'm not sure if they have that right now, but I know the hotel option is always there. And like I said, that used to be the only option. So I'm going to tell you they stay in a hotel until such time that they get sent back or they get told to find a place to stay. Nikki Ice says, is there any update on Josh Anderson or Brandon Dubinsky and when their return will happen? Well, Josh Anderson could be in the lineup tonight for the Blue Jackets. Marcus Hannikainen got sent out back to Cleveland after the game on Saturday. Josh Anderson has been skating. He is on the trip. I think if Josh Anderson is okay and checks out after the morning skate today, you're going to see him in the lineup tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's the easy one to answer. As far as Brandon Dubinsky, I haven't heard the mention of Brandon Dubinsky's name. I haven't seen Brandon Dubinsky around. So that one is a much longer-term thing. How long? I have no idea. But I'm telling you right now, he is not even on the radar. Jody says, I thought Elvis had a much better game in Chicago. He looked calm and didn't let the little things get to him. And so even though this is not a question, I'm going to take it on here. And Jody, you're right. He did. He was better. Now, you can also argue he only had one way to go after giving up 7 in his NHL debut. Yes, he gave up 3 to the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, he looked better, all of those things. But let's not get too carried away with this in some ways here. Listen, I do not dislike Elvis Merzlikins. I think that he's a good young person who's got a lot of potential. I think he's got a lot of he's got a lot of upside. He is very confident in his own abilities and all of those things. But I'm not going to start to praise a guy and heap on him because he only gave up 3 instead of 7. That he looked a little bit better. The bottom line is he didn't win the game, okay? And you can say that's fair or unfair for me to have that opinion. You can think it's harsh, whatever you want to do. I don't care. But he did not win the game. And when I'm looking at those goals that he gave up, I'm seeing a trend in the glove side is an issue for this guy. There are adjustments he has to make on the glove side. He is the position of the glove is in a it's not in a great position for the NHL. Where that glove positioning may have worked in Switzerland. It is not working in the NHL. I think he is slow to react because of the positioning of the glove. He needs to make that adjustment, and he needs to stay with it. And the hard thing for him is that he's trying to do that in practice, and there's only so much you can do in practice because you don't have Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin shooting on you in practice. Practice is not a game situation. I'm sorry. It's just not. And it is very hard to make that adjustment. You need to play in the games. The 2 games that he has played in involve the players that I just mentioned, and that's a whole different game right there when you're facing those kind of players. So there is, yes, he looked better, okay, but there's a lot of work to do for him, and it's going to be a struggle, I think, until he can figure that thing out. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to – I will tell you that he was better, but he hasn't won a game, okay? He's played 2 times. 1 time was terrible. The last time was better. His team also played a lot better in front of him in Chicago than they did in Pittsburgh. That is a fact. There's no question about that. So they cleared away a lot of things. But he was better, but he has not won a game yet. And until there's consistency, and again, he probably gets there at some point, but that point is not today. So I'm not trying to run him down. I'm not trying to say that, this is that he's overhyped and it's never going to happen for him. I'm just saying that I'm going to hold on to my praise until it is fully deserved. I'm not going to applaud mediocrity, okay? And not winning is not good enough. Now, I know that sounds very harsh, but it's just a fact. So think what you want, but that's how I feel about it, and that's what you tuned in for, right? To get my opinion on this thing. So he's better. He was better than he was the first time, but there is another level that he has to get to. And when he gets to that level, I'll be the first one to say, there he is, and I told you, and be behind him. But he's not there yet. He's just not there yet. Kyle Wenning says, why is Cam taking faceoffs, especially in overtime? Shouldn't you go with your best faceoff center? Torch said he was saving Wenberg, but if you don't win that opening faceoff in overtime, you might not get the chance for the player that you are saving, just like we saw against the Islanders. Kyle, that is an excellent point. And I don't know, first of all, why is Cam taking faceoffs? I think he's taking them because Dubois has been ineffective. Now, I don't know if there's any kind of a injury situation there. I don't know if there's something going on with Pierre-Luc Dubois that's preventing him from winning faceoffs, or if it's just he's not that good at it, okay? And Cam has had some decent success. But I do agree with you. In overtime, possession is the name of the game. And not only was Cam Atkinson taking the faceoff in overtime, Seth Jones wasn't on the ice to start the overtime. And that is not a knock on Zach Werenski by any means. But Seth Jones is your overtime guy, right? How many times have we seen Seth Jones score to win an overtime? But he wasn't on the ice. So that is a further factor. And I wonder if he wasn't on the ice because of the play that he made on Friday night, which was a horrible decision to shoot the puck that he did. He misses the net, winds up giving the puck to the Blackhawks, so they create a 2-on-1 scoring opportunity, and they win the game off of it, okay? That was a mistake. You don't see Seth Jones make that many mistakes. Although I think that Seth is, he's playing well, but I don't know if he's playing up to the normal standard that we're used to seeing Seth Jones play at here in the first couple of games. All right? But that was a bad decision. And if he was not put on the ice because of that decision, if that was a punishment kind of a thing, that compounds the situation to me. Because you're right, Wenberg's your best faceoff guy. Why isn't he out there to start? And why is Seth Jones not on the ice to start the overtime? I don't know the answer to either one of those questions, but it's a very good point. Because Cam, he did win some faceoffs. Now, you could come back, if you're John Tortorella, and I ask you that and say, why in the heck are you having him take the faceoff in overtime? You could come back and very rightfully so say that, he did a good job on faceoffs. He was winning faceoffs. He just lost that one. Okay, yeah, you're right. But that one was perhaps the most important one because in overtime in a 3-on-3, you've got to have possession of the puck. That's what it's all about. And if you don't have the puck, then you're back on your heels and you're hoping to stop that other team. We saw it. What'd it take? 30 seconds or less? I forget how long it took to get that goal, but it was quick. It was over quick, right? So, and 2 nights in a row. it was over quick. One of those times the Blue Jackets had possession, and then they made a bad decision and gave it away. But the second night, it's fair to say you didn't have your best personnel on the ice at the beginning. And I'm not knocking Cam, and I'm not knocking Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're great players, but get them out there after it already has started and you have possession of the puck, not when you're trying to win a face-off and dictate how the overtime is going to begin. Justin Needham says, with the regression of the power play even further, when will a change be made to who is coaching it? Well, Justin, first of all, to make a change who is coaching it, I don't know, that means, quite frankly, that means you're going to have to replace or bring somebody on or replace a coach during the season. And that I just don't see happening. Now, I will say this about the power play. You talk about further regression. I don't think that it has regressed in the fact of, or in the way of, they are now entering the zone more consistently. I think from a week ago until now, they're getting into the zone and they're getting set up. In fact, I think they're getting a lot of pressure. Now, but I will say this too. You look at the game against the Islanders. They're on the power play. Thomas Greiss loses his stick. And they're passing the puck all around the perimeter. And I think at that point they're looking for a perfect shot to throw in on a goalie that has no stick. And I would say that there is no perfect shot. You're not scoring goals at a record pace. You're not having success getting a lot of pucks behind the goalie. So just shoot it. Just shoot it. Now, I know that many of you, when the Blue Jackets are on the power play and passing around the perimeter, you're yelling shoot to begin with, even when there's not a shooting lane. But, so I'm not, sometimes that irritates me because I know that that's a point they shouldn't be shooting the puck. It's not going to get through, so just be quiet and wait until they have a better opportunity. But when the goaltender loses a stick, I think you've got to just try to get every puck to the net that you can. And they didn't. They were too patient on it. They're looking for a perfect shot. They are still looking for that perfect shot today. It never came. Okay? So the power play, I don't think it is regressing. I think there are positive signs, but they still aren't scoring on it. So to your point, that holds water. But I just don't see what they're going to do. Last year they brought in Martin St. Louis as a consultant. I wouldn't be against that, but who's out there that they could do that with? I don't know. I don't know if they would go that route. I understand your frustration with it. And believe me, I'm just as frustrated on most nights as you are. But as far as the coaching aspect of it, I don't see them making a change in the staff just to have somebody coach that. I think, in fact, again, if I was Torts and I brought this up, if somebody brought it up to me, if I was Torts, I would say, I would cite the things that I just cited. We're getting into the zone. We're getting sustained zone time. Yeah, but you're not getting the shots. So that's not just the power play. That's everything in general. So I think they've made some strides there. But again, you're right. They're not scoring on it. Lauren says, would you refresh my memory of what happened to Adam McQuaid? I'd forgotten about his injury in the playoffs until it was referenced in regards to the recent hit on Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now, that's number one. Lauren also says, we are so close to being a force to reckon with, so what will it take for us to score? What's missing? Confidence is missing right now. I think the more games you go and you have big opportunities and you don't take advantage of those, I think your confidence wanes. So that's one thing for sure to answer that question. As far as the Adam McQuaid thing, that was improperly referenced in a post-game press conference in Chicago the other night about him getting hurt in the playoffs. He never played in the playoffs. He got hurt against Montreal late in the regular season schedule last year when Andrew Shaw hit him, and he concussed him. And Adam McQuaid may never play again after that hit. So there was that hit by Shaw. Then there was the hit the other night in Chicago. I mean, that's a guy who has been a bit reckless in his last two games against the Blue Jackets. So So that was the hit. And of course, the guys were asked about it after the game, and they don't like it. But you can't send a message in a game that you're struggling to hold on to a 1-goal lead or to stay tied. You know what I mean? I'm saying the next time they play against Chicago, if the score is lopsided one way or the other, maybe somebody talks with Andrew Shaw about the frustration that they have with his last couple of hits. But you don't do it in a game where you're tied and trying to win. No doubt about that. Let's see. Terry wants to know about Brandon Dubinsky. Samantha's asking about Brandon Dubinsky. Again, I told you before, I have no update on Brandon Dubinsky. He's not in my thoughts. He is certainly not, I haven't seen him, so he's not been in my field of vision. Whatever is going on with him looks to be something that is going to keep him out for a while. So I don't know. But Samantha goes on here and says, also asked about why Atkinson is taking the faceoffs. And again, I addressed that from the fact that I just think that Dubois has been ineffective, and John Tortorella thinks he can get some more out of Cam Atkinson. But Samantha also says, how was it decided who gets the A on their jersey at home and away? And how is the order decided when walking out for warm-ups? Well, the alternate captains are decided by the coaches, and I think they're no-brainers on this team, quite frankly, because, Boone Jenner has been here for a long time and has been a good player and a leader. Cam Atkinson, too, and then you have Seth Jones. So I don't know how they decide who wears it at home and who away. I think that's kind of an agreement between the players. But as far as who those alternate captains are, they are picked by the coaches. And the order they go out in warm-ups, that I'm not sure. That's a question I would have to ask because, I see them come out and, the goalie always comes first. But after that, there's some type of a pecking order, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. So, Samantha, that's one I'll have to follow up for you on. Robbie Bing says, on the power play, do you think we should move Cam to the other side? Yeah, I think that would be something that they might want to look at, to put him in a shooting position instead of where he is right now. But that being said, I'm not saying that, hey, they have Cam Atkinson on the wrong side and that's why they're not producing and that's why he's not producing on the power play, because wherever you are, you have to make the adjustment, okay? And you've got to buy in, accept it, excel at it. So I think Cam's trying there, but if you're asking me, would a little flip make a difference? Yeah, I think it might. And that's something that maybe you'll see here if they continue to not score on the power play. Drew Pike says, is there a trade that we could make that stands out to you to help this team, or do you think we're on the right track going forward with just this group? I don't think that you're ever on the right track with just the group that you have. I shouldn't say that. You can be on the right track, but you might need to add another car to your train. You know what I mean? But is there a trade right now? Nothing that I can think of right at the moment where somebody might be available and you might have the assets to go get that somebody. But you're always, Yarmo would say this. He always says it, and it's always true, and every general manager would say this, is that you're looking to make your team better every day. And if that means that you can add a player that's going to make it better, then they're going to try to find that player and acquire that player. But, this group, look, there's a lot of things about this group that I think are going to be fine. I think Alexander Texier is a good player, and I think that we see that on many nights, but not all nights. I think Emil Bemstrom has the opportunity to be a good player in this league, but he's played 8 games, right? So it's going to take time, and taking time means having patience. And people like you and I are the ones that don't have the patience. People like Jarmo Kekalainen are the ones that have patience, and that is part of their job, so that's a good thing. But they're on the right track here. It's You just have to be patient with some of these younger guys. And the problem with the patience is, of course, you cannot fall too far behind early because it's hard to catch up late. Jonathan Zigmunt says, thoughts on Bemstrom's start? Well, I think Emil he's been good. I think he's been getting better. Last couple games, he's been shooting the puck a lot, which is good because that is his strength. So he should be shooting the puck a lot. So I think he's getting a little bit more confident there. But it's been okay. It hasn't been fantastic. It has just been okay. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Josh Anderson comes back into the lineup tonight. I will tell you that. Let's see. Siebes says, is there a standard for the drills the teams do during the pregame warm-up? The teams always look similar in what they're doing, like when they crowd the goalie until someone scores. Well, I talked to Jody Shelley about this last night because you're right. They look like they are doing something very similar. And he said because I said to him, is every team doing the same thing out there? And he goes, well, warm-ups is really just basically you're screwing around and you're just getting loose and all that stuff. But he said as far as the way that one team does warm-ups as compared to another team, he said they're about 98% similar in how they do it. You go through and you shoot some pucks, you do a 2-on-1, then you do the line rushes, which for us, when we're upstairs watching warm-ups, we're waiting for the line rushes to see if there are if there have been any changes that a coach has made in his lineup, even from practice the previous day. So we watch those to see who's playing on the same line together. But at the end, what you're talking about, Siebes, at the end, there's always that, Jody said they call it last puck. And everybody crowds around the goalie, and they keep working it until the puck goes in the net. And so that is standard. And I've seen that become quite the competition on different teams throughout the years. Some of them, they're kind of having fun with it, and other times they are they're pretty doggone serious about it, quite frankly. Let's see here. Bearded Budget Box Breaker. Was Sonny Milano's goal on Ben Bishop something to be excited about for the remainder of the year, or was it just a flash in the pan? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Sonny's got that ability. That goal is Sonny Milano, quite frankly. I mean, this is a guy that before he got drafted, the biggest highlight, this is no offense to him where he played prior to getting drafted, but his biggest highlight was doing stick tricks in a parking lot on YouTube. So, I mean, that goal is Sonny Milano. There's no question about it. So, yeah, you should be excited about it. Is it just a flash in the pan? Well, no, from the standpoint that Sonny would do it again, given the opportunity. I will guarantee you that. Is Sonny getting better? Yeah, I think he is. Are there still parts of his game he has to work on? Yeah, there are, but you can say that for a lot of guys, quite frankly. And then the second part of this question is, what can we, meaning you and I, not the Blue Jackets, do to make this city more attractive to high-profile, high-skill players? And would it even make a difference if we did change something? Or what is it Columbus is missing that those players want? First of all, don't get a complex about the city. The city is terrific. It's just about getting people here to experience it. And now I know you're likely to say, well, we had some people here to experience it and they didn't want to stay. Well, that's their prerogative. I don't think they're right. You don't think they're right, all of that. But what can you and I do to change it? There's not much that you and I can do. I mean, you're coming to the games. You're there supporting this team no matter what. What else can you do besides that? Winning is what is going to attract players. Gus Nyquist comes here, and, he's a good player. He's a good, solid NHL player. He decided to come here. We tend to forget about that because there were other guys that went the other direction. And Gus is not the highest skill and highest profile that you're talking about. I understand that. But I think those guys, it's going to be drafting them and developing them and having them feel like a part of this and then having the money to give them to stay, quite frankly. That's what it's going to be. And, so how can you help? is by being there and buying your tickets, and because that's where the money's coming from to be able to give it to these players. So, there's not really much that you can change yourself. I don't think so. It's a great city. It's a great hockey fan base. It's a great building. It's just about getting the right people, and about getting the right people to buy in as well. Finally, Nicholas Vanel gets the last question today. Who exits the lineup when Josh Anderson returns? I think, to me, Emil Bemstrom is the most likely candidate, but I'll also say that with him being on the power play, that maybe they would keep him in because of that. But Sonny Milano was on a power play unit there the other night, and that tells me that you could take Bemstrom out and you could replace him with Milano on the power play if you want to. I think that, to go back to the earlier question about Sonny's goal, I think that's bought him time. I think that has given him more of a look from John Tortorella. So I don't know, but one of those two guys are the likely candidates. And if Josh Anderson makes it through the morning skate today, and if he plays tonight, that's when that answer will come for sure. Thank you for all your questions again this week. You can send them to me at any time on Twitter at BobbyMacSports. Tonight it's the Blue Jackets in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. It's a 7 o'clock start tonight. By the way, little programming note, 15-minute pregame tonight. I don't know what's going on our flagship station, 97.1 The Fan, but there were a couple of games where we could only go 15 minutes instead of 30 per our agreement with them. Tonight is one of those nights, so 6:45 pregame this evening on The Fan and on the Blue Jackets radio network around the state, and then the puck drops at 7 o'clock. Blue Jackets losing to the Maple Leafs in Columbus on the very first game of the year. They will try to even that season series tonight. They'll try to get 2 points on the road before coming back home later this week to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's going to do it for today's CBJ in 30, presented by Tel Ohio Credit Union. Until tonight, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.